Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm so excited for today's topic.
Oh, yeah.
You know me,
Yeah.
I'm always geeking out over food.
Of course.
And today we're doing a deep dive into the science behind becoming a better, more intuitive cook.
I like it.
We're going to be exploring this YouTube video
Okay.
that breaks down Samin Nosrat's salt, fat, acid, heat.
Oh.
Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
The cookbook?
That's a classic.
It's basically like a culinary Bible.
Yeah.
So get ready to unlock some serious flavor and creativity in the kitchen.
Sounds good to me.
So this video argues that sometimes
Okay.
getting too caught up in recipes can actually hold you back in the kitchen
Truly.
because you end up just following the steps
Right.
instead of really understanding what's happening with your food.
Interesting.
So it's like the difference between painting by numbers
Sure.
and creating your own masterpiece.
I see.
Recipes are great starting points,
Sure.
but real culinary artistry comes from understanding those fundamentals.
Yeah. Those fundamentals, yeah.
So let's unpack those fundamentals.
Let's do it.
Starting with salt.
Yeah, okay.
The video makes this really interesting point about how
Yeah.
salt
Yeah.
does way more than just make things taste salty.
Oh, I know this.
Right.
Yeah, like you think about eggplant.
Okay.
If you salt it before you grill it,
Uh-huh.
it draws out the excess moisture.
Oh, that's a good point.
So that's salt at work.
Yeah.
Transforming the texture and creating a much more tender and flavorful result.
That's such a good example.
It is.
And the video also talks about another one,
Okay.
which is salting the water for your green beans.
Right.
A lot of people.
Which most people do,
Yeah.
but they don't know why they're doing it.
They just think it's seasoning the beans.
Exactly.
But it goes way beyond that.
It does.
It helps the beans retain their bright green color.
Okay.
It makes sure that they cook more evenly.
Interesting.
And it even helps them maintain their flavor.
So much more than just adding salt.
Right.
Yeah.
It's simple science. Yeah. But it makes all the difference.
For sure.
Little culinary magic trick.
Yeah.
And speaking of tricks,
Uh-huh.
the video goes into different salting techniques.
Oh, fun.
So did you know
Tell me.
that there's a salt by the palm full method for boiling water,
Really?
and then a more delicate,
Okay.
wag your wrist approach for roasting vegetables?
So you just kind of
Yeah.
sprinkle it on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes sense when you think about it.
It does.
You wouldn't salt a delicate
Yeah.
fillet of fish
Uh-huh.
the same way that you would a big pot of pasta water.
Right.
Totally different.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And of course, they emphasize the importance of not going overboard with the salt.
of course.
Right.
Too much salt is
Can ruin a dish
not a good thing.
just as easily as too little.
Right. It's all about balance.
It's all about balance.
Yes.
And along with salt, the video talks about
Okay.
its faithful companion, pepper,
Pepper.
and it highlights how, okay,
Pepper is great,
yeah,
but it has some limitations compared to salt.
interesting.
So salt can kind of waltz into both sweet and savory dishes.
Yeah, salt's versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But pepper kind of sticks to its lane,
it does.
right? Often found in specific cuisines or regions.
Yeah, it's true.
So you wouldn't sprinkle pepper into your chocolate chip cookies the same way you would salt them.
No, you would not.
Right.
Exactly.
That's about understanding the unique properties of each ingredient.
Yeah.
And how they contribute to the overall flavor profile.
I agree.
Okay, so we've covered salt and pepper.
Uh-huh.
Now let's move on to my personal favorite.
Okay.
Fat.
Ooh, fat.
This is where things get really exciting.
Okay, I'm ready.
The video stresses how crucial cooking fats are,
Yeah.
like oils and butter,
Mm-hmm.
to enhance the flavors of your dishes.
Well, yeah, have you ever noticed how roasted vegetables just become so incredibly flavorful when they're coated in olive oil?
Totally.
It's like the fat acts like a tiny flavor taxi, carrying those delicious roasted notes to your taste buds.
I never thought about it like that,
It's true.
but that makes so much sense.
And it also creates that wonderful, rich mouthfeel that just elevates the whole dish.
And speaking of olive oil,
Yeah.
the video gives a cool tip for testing its quality.
Oh, really?
It's all about just doing a simple taste test.
Okay.
They recommend paying attention to the freshness,
Okay.
pungency,
Right.
and distinct flavor notes.
So kind of like how you might do a wine tasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're appreciating those subtle nuances that make high-quality olive oil really shine.
Great. And those nuances translate directly to the flavor of your food.
Exactly.
Using good quality olive oil can make a huge difference.
So now you know I'm all about that crispy texture.
We love crispy.
I love crispy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the video dives into the science behind getting that perfect crunch.
All right, let's hear it.
Turns out, it all comes down to
I'm listening.
this delicate dance between fat and temperature control.
Uh.
So the key is to get the surface temperature of your food above 212 degrees Fahrenheit
Okay.
to evaporate the water.
Uh-huh.
And that's where fat comes in.
Right.
It helps conduct that heat
Mm-hmm.
and create that crispy outer layer.
So it's not just about cranking up the heat.
It's not.
It's about understanding how the oil.
It's understanding how it acts as a conductor.
Yeah.
So things like preheating the pan,
Right.
using enough oil,
Uh-huh.
making sure it's shimmering but not spitting.
Interesting.
It's about creating the perfect environment for those chemical reactions
Wow.
to take place
Yeah.
and transform your food into this symphony of textures.
I'm learning so much.
This is why I love learning about the science behind cooking,
Me too.
because it takes out the guesswork
Yeah.
and empowers you to control the outcome.
For sure.
So we've covered salt, pepper, and fat,
Right.
but there's one more essential element we need to explore:
Okay, bring it on.
acid.
Acid.
It's the unsung hero of flavor balance.
Really?
Think about how a squeeze of lemon
Okay.
can brighten up a rich, fatty dish,
Yeah.
or how a splash of vinegar can cut through the sweetness of a sauce.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's all about creating that perfect harmony of taste.
It's like the final touch that makes all the flavors pop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just about adding acidity randomly.
So,
The video stresses the importance of balancing it with the other elements.
of course, you don't want too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Too much acid, and your dish can be overly tart.
True.
Too little, and it might taste flat or one-dimensional.
It's about finding that sweet spot
It is.
where everything comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the video even breaks down the different types of acid,
Oh, does it?
explaining the difference between, like, cooking acids
Interesting.
and garnishing acids.
Okay.
So imagine you're making a vinaigrette.
Okay, I love a good vinaigrette.
So the vinegar that you whisk in at the beginning,
Uh-huh.
that's your cooking acid.
Okay.
It mellows out as it heats and becomes part of the dressing's foundation.
Right.
But then that squeeze of lemon that you add just before serving,
Yeah.
that's your garnishing acid.
Okay.
It's that burst of brightness
It wakes it all up.
that makes all the flavors really sing.
I love that analogy.
So we've covered salt, pepper, fat, and acid,
What else could there be?
but there's one more
Oh.
element that is absolutely essential to creating culinary magic.
All right, I can't wait to hear about it. It's heat,
Neat.
the element that transforms ingredients,
Oh, yeah.
bringing them to life and creating those incredible textures and flavors we
Right.
crave.
Yeah.
And the video really goes beyond just setting the oven temperature.
Okay.
It dives into how heat affects protein-rich foods,
Okay.
using scrambled eggs as a prime example.
I was going to say,
Oh, yeah.
scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs.
I love a good scramble.
They point out how overcooked eggs
Yeah.
get all rubbery
They do?
because the proteins clump together, so they suggest a low and slow approach. Okay.
Cooking them over gentle heat,
Yeah,
stirring constantly,
right.
and taking them off the heat before they're fully set.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's about being mindful of the heat's impact on the protein structure.
absolutely.
Kind of like how
Yeah,
a gentle simmer versus a rolling boil can totally change the texture of a sauce.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how heat transforms ingredients.
Right.
And using that knowledge
Yeah.
to achieve your desired outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of transforming ingredients,
Okay.
the video ends with a fantastic example.
Okay, let's hear it.
Making a delicious tomato sauce.
I love tomato sauce.
It's the perfect way to
Yeah.
see how salt, fat acid, and heat all work together to create a culinary masterpiece.
I love how they emphasize the
Mhm.
importance of layering flavors,
Yeah.
starting with like gently sautéed onions
Yeah.
to build the sweet base,
Right.
and then adding garlic
Oh,
for a pungent kick,
I'm with you.
followed by the bright acidity of tomatoes.
Yeah.
Each ingredient has its moment to shine,
Yeah.
and then they all come together
Uh-huh.
to create this truly complex and satisfying
Yeah,
flavor
yeah.
profile.
It's like composing a symphony of flavors.
I love that.
And of course, heat plays a crucial role
Of course.
in this process.
It does.
It talks about how you need to manage the heat carefully,
Okay.
making sure each ingredient has the time
Yeah.
and the temperature it needs to release its full potential.
Release its full potential. I love that.
Yeah.
And they also highlight
Okay.
the importance of paying attention to texture,
Okay.
using techniques like crushing the tomatoes by hand
Yeah.
to release their juices
Interesting.
and simmering the sauce
Yeah.
to achieve that perfect consistency.
It's those little details
It is.
that elevate a dish
Yes.
from good to outstanding.
For sure.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Me too.
This whole deep dive is making me realize.
Yeah. You don't have to be a professional chef to create amazing food.
Not at all.
It's about understanding these core principles
Right.
and using them to guide your cooking.
I couldn't agree more.
It's about moving beyond just following recipes,
Yeah.
becoming more intuitive,
Yes.
more confident in the kitchen.
It's like learning a new language.
Oh, okay.
At first, you rely on a phrase book.
Yeah.
But then eventually, you
Right.
start forming your own sentences and expressing yourself more fluently.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That is so true. The more you practice,
Mm-hmm.
experiment with these culinary elements,
Yeah.
the more natural and effortless your cooking becomes.
It does.
You start to trust your senses,
Yeah.
and you develop your own unique culinary voice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership of the process
Totally.
and finding joy in creating something delicious from scratch.
Okay, so as we're talking,
Yeah.
I'm remembering all the times
Yeah.
I have followed a recipe to the letter and still ended up with a dish that was just,
Just okay.
yeah. I bet if I understood these principles back then,
Uh-huh.
I could have tweaked things
Yeah.
and made it truly thing.
Totally. We've all been there.
Yeah.
You realize that a recipe is just a blueprint.
Oh, yeah.
The real artistry comes from understanding the why behind each step
Okay.
and being able to adjust
Yeah.
based on your ingredients,
Right.
your intuition, and your desired outcome.
It's like the difference between playing a song
Yeah.
by reading sheet music
Okay.
versus improvising and making it your own.
Exact.
That's what Samin Nosrat encourages us to do,
It is.
to become more confident and creative cooks
Yeah.
by understanding the fundamentals of flavor.
Thinking about it this way,
Yeah.
it makes me want to ditch the takeout menus and get back in the kitchen.
Me too. What about you?
Absolutely.
As we wrap up this part of the deep dive,
Okay.
it's important to emphasize
Mm-hmm.
learning about salt, fat, acid, heat isn't just about becoming a better cook.
I agree.
It's about enriching your overall relationship with food.
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
It's about slowing down,
Uh,
savoring each bite,
right.
and appreciating the artistry and science that goes into every dish.
Becoming a more conscious,
Yes.
engaged eater.
Engaged eater. Love that.
Understanding how
Yeah.
different ingredients interact.
Yeah.
Appreciating the nuances of flavor.
It's like becoming a culinary detective,
Yes.
uncovering the secrets
Exactly.
behind those dishes
Yes.
that make your taste buds sing.
And imagine this.
Okay.
You're at a restaurant
Yeah.
and you taste a dish
Uh-huh.
that just blows you away.
Okay.
You're no longer just thinking, wow, this is delicious.
Yeah.
You're thinking, how did they achieve this perfect balance of salt, fat, acid, and heat?
Okay.
Could I recreate this at home?
Right. It's like having a secret decoder ring for flavor,
Yes.
and suddenly the world of food becomes even more exciting,
Right.
full of possibilities.
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this approach.
It is.
It empowers you to not only appreciate good food,
Mm-hmm.
but to understand it,
Yeah.
recreate it,
Mm-hmm.
even create your own culinary masterpieces.
I love it.
So I'm feeling so inspired.
Like you.
I think our listeners are feeling it too.
I think so.
So before we wrap up this segment,
Okay.
I want to give them a little challenge
A challenge.
to take with them
All right. I'm in.
on their culinary adventures.
Okay.
Think about a dish
Okay.
you absolutely love to eat,
All right.
something that truly makes your taste buds sing.
Okay.
Now, I want you to deconstruct that dish
Okay.
through the lens of salt, fat, acid, heat.
So put on our culinary detective hats.
Yes.
Analyze the elements that make that dish so special.
So ask yourself,
Okay.
how would you describe its use of each element?
All right.
Could you recreate it
Could you?
by focusing on those principles rather than a recipe?
That is a brilliant challenge.
Yeah.
It encourages our listeners to become active participants
Yeah,
in their own culinary journey
exactly.
to deconstruct the flavors they love
Yes.
and try to build them back up using their newfound knowledge.
This is the perfect way to end this part of our deep dive.
I think so too.
It leaves our listeners with something to ponder
Yeah,
as they embark on their own culinary explorations.
it does.
And who knows?
What?
Maybe they'll even discover some new flavor combinations
Yeah, I hope so.
and techniques along the way.
That would be great.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
I hope you've had some time to think about that challenge we left you with.
Deconstructing your favorite dish
Yeah.
through the lens of salt, fat, acid, heat.
It's amazing how just kind of shifting your perspective a little bit can make you feel like a culinary detective.
Totally.
Right.
I bet some of our listeners are starting to see some of those familiar dishes
Oh, yeah.
in a whole new light,
Yeah.
and maybe even getting inspired to experiment in the kitchen a little bit,
Or
tweaking those recipes
Right.
or even creating their own from scratch.
I hope so.
That's the beauty of salt, fat, acid, heat.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning techniques. It's
No.
about empowering people to become more intuitive
Yes.
and confident cooks.
It's about understanding that why behind the what.
It is.
Right.
And trusting your senses to guide you.
Yeah.
So you're moving away from
Yeah.
blindly following recipes to
Yeah.
creating something truly your own.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I have this renewed sense of excitement about cooking.
Me too.
It's like
we
we
unlock
unlocked a secret code.
a secret code.
This deeper understanding of how to make food sing.
And the best part is
Yeah.
this knowledge is accessible to everyone.
I think so too.
You don't need
Yeah.
fancy equipment or years of culinary training. It's
Right.
about using your senses, experimenting with flavors,
Mhm.
trusting your intuition.
That's what makes salt, fat, acid, heat so powerful.
It is.
It demystifies
Yeah.
this art of cooking.
It does.
It makes it approachable and fun.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe one day you'll be the one
Oh, yeah.
creating those mouth-watering dishes that other people are trying to deconstruct and recreate.
So, dear listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive
It's been fun.
into the world of salt, fat, acid, heat.
Sad to see it go.
But remember, this is just the beginning of your culinary journey.
It is.
Go forth, experiment, and create.
Yes.
Embrace those 4 elements,
You got it.
and I guarantee you,
I do too.
you'll discover a whole new world of flavor
You will.
and culinary satisfaction.
It's out there waiting for you.
Happy cooking.